Welcome to Network Today. I'm Cheryl Powers.
I'm Rob Bliss.
And we're here to take you from meeting people to
making money.
And that's always a good thing, right? So it's all about the long game, right? The long relationship game. If you're new to networking, it's long, but we want to help you shorten it.
And it's all about improving our networking skills so that we can make more money.
That's right. That's right. And we have to get from point A to point B a little faster. So hopefully we're going to help you do that with today's topic. This is episode number 15. All right. Go back. I know. Can you believe it? So go back, review the other ones at your leisure. And this particular one is all about your personal brand.
I love this subject.
You do? Why?
This is so important because, again, that's, Purple Cow branding is all about personal branding.
That's right. That's right.
And it's, it's a part of when we are in business, whether you're a solopreneur, whether you run a company, you have to have branding for that company so that you can differentiate yourself from the competition. Yeah. Because there's so much noise out there, Cheryl. Yeah. How do you stand out in the crowd? And that's what we got. That's what I'm excited about talking about today, because I've got 2 great books that are in Rob's library that I'm going to share with the audience. But again, I want to share a couple of stories about myself too.
You are?
Yes.
Okay, that's good. Because you are a walking personal brand, by the way. So yes, it's good. Well, and I think it's something that we kind of jump over sometimes because we're so worried about all the other things that we have to take care of. Hey, do I believe in myself? Do I have the right posture? Am I wearing the right jacket? Do I do my demographic? But truly, at the end of the day, what are people going to remember?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It is going to help you be the one that you don't have to attend as many events because people are remembering you. And when they remember you, what do?
Well, say that one more time.
When people remember you, what do?
Well, they broadcast that.
They broadcast it and they refer you, right?
Yeah.
Because you're the one they're thinking of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So personal branding is advertising.
Yeah. Well said. It's part of your marketing strategy, your marketing plan.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And with that, we've got an amazing, an outstanding, a top tier guest that is going to talk about, because he's a walking personal brand as well.
Oh my God. Yes. Right?
Yes. So let me ask you this, because he's going to come up. So I want you to stay tuned here because he's going to come up here in a few minutes. But before we do, how did you develop? You've got some very personal brands, things that didn't work for other people, but they work for you. How did you determine what was going to work for you? Like.
Right. Well, everyone's different, and you don't have to be flamboyant. When we talk about personal branding, you don't have to be crazy, flamboyant, colorful. But, for me, it kind of goes back to my high school days where I always wanted to stand out and do stupid things. Like one of the things I did was someone dared me, and that, I'm from Canada. It's 20 below zero in the wintertime, 5 feet of snow on the ground. Well, I ran on the track. Because someone dared me to do that. So I wanted to be different. So that's where it started from. And then again, as my business career was launched, again, being a small guy, being a solopreneur, it's like, how do I stand out in the crowd? And so, boom, being a little flamboyant. Then I went with my blue glasses. I went with the buttons I wear. Again, but it's all based upon marketing. It's based upon, how can I be different from my competition?
Yeah. Yeah, and that is so super important, and really goes back to one of the things we talked about in the last episode, and that's being authentic, right? Mm-hmm. Knowing yourself, because when you know yourself, you can kind of own that personal brand.
Yes, absolutely.
That's so super important, because if it's somebody else's brand, you're not going to wear it very well.
Right.
And it's going to look phony. You're not going to be authentic, and it's just not going to work for you. So you do have to find something that you can, even if it doesn't feel comfortable immediately, grow into it and really own it.
Yeah, because again, I want, what we want people to understand about branding is the fact that, like I said earlier, it's your marketing strategy.
Right.
And then you have to have that plan to say, how can I increase my business? Right. And, it starts with the brand. It's how are you going to build an audience?
Yeah.
How are you going to communicate your message? Yeah. It's going to be, how do you inspire others to believe and empower them to believe in what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And other than certainly our guest, Bryan Flanagan, talking about what he knows so well, who are some of the other people in our sphere of influence that really pop out to you? And I know you didn't prepare for this, so I'm hitting you upside the head with this question, but who do you just top of mind say, wow, they've really got a great personal brand?
Well, that's a great question. And there's so many good people out there, but say a great personal brand stands out. Well, I'm going to say someone very close, Miss Cheryl Powers.
What? I don't count. No, that's too easy.
No, that's too easy, but that's so true, Cheryl. I love your tagline, Powers as in Austin. I love that, And I think to me, your brand is the fact that you got a great smile. You're so positive, you're energetic, you're enthusiastic. That all comes together. And I think about that all the time. So yes, you are a great example of that.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you very much. One of the persons, and I don't know him terribly well, but I do know him to a degree that I think has a great brand, a great physical brand, and that's Tim Nichols.
Yes.
Tim, 3 million%. So
that's awesome.
He has, I'm sure, didn't come out of the womb like this, but he's got his, certain dress style that he wears. You can always pick him out of a room.
Yes.
Right? So not something that I would do, but it totally works for him, and he owns it. So here's another one that you'll be like, oh yeah, Dan Nye, the banking guy, right? So he was one of the first people I met when I was networking through NetWeavers, and I just had to know him one time, and it stuck, right? And it's what he does. He's banking.
Well, and what's part of that too, though, Cheryl, is he's always in like a navy dark suit, white shirt, good looking tie. I always see Dan in that way, and then that goes to the banking guy. Yeah. So again, he's branded himself in that way, in a very kind of conservative way, but it helps him stand out.
That's right. So, and that's a really great point that we probably should touch on after when we're going to close here, some action items. But boy, oh boy, keep in mind that the brand needs to correlate with what it is that you're trying to make people remember about you, because it needs to be good.
Yes.
Not bad. So if this is new to you, your first episode tuning in, one of the things we love to really kind of out of the gate talk about, those are success stories. We call them grand slams. So when we come back, you're going to hear from Rob and from me, so we can stay focused on the prize, right?
Are you having trouble with your VoIP phone system? Smart Office USA to the rescue. We're a local company here in DFW with real people, certified technicians, and we even come to your office to help you. Smart Office USA, representing the #1 VoIP phone system on the planet. And we are right here in DFW, ready to help you. Call us 214-272-0921 or go to www.smartofficeusa.com.
So, can I go first?
Yep, you can go.
Because I'm so super pumped about this particular one.
Go for it.
Yes, because it's networking with networkers to create more networking and fuel everybody's business, right? That's what we're all here to do. We're not here to just like, hey, nice to meet you. Here's my card, blah, blah, blah. No, but to fuel each other's business through relationships. So, Steven Snyder, right?
Yes.
So he and I met 2 years ago when he moved in from Kentucky with his lovely bride. So she had taken a gig here. So he was doing insurance, so life and health. And that's a really great partner for me. So we had a really great conversation. And then beyond that, he started kind of doing more things. So we kept in contact, shared referrals. And then he started working with another gentleman that we both know, right, within our network of influence so that he could grow his business just post-COVID. So this happened just recently. And that was with Michael Battaglia, right? So now they're partnering. So this is how you build your network, right? You can't do it alone, or you can. It's just a lot harder.
Right.
So he partnered with Michael. And with that, he has a new baby. That's pertinent to the story, because new baby means that daddy doesn't have a whole lot of time, and he wants to grow his network, but in a crowded industry.
Yes.
Right? A lot of people do insurance,
business.
financial, real estate, right? Those are really crowded industries. But he says, hey, Sheryl, I love mid-market professionals. I know Jack Carney opened up one over in west part of the Metroplex. Can I open one in Collin County? So we launched that this week, or he did. I just, helped to support him. And it was so beautiful to see him running his own show, being able to manage and navigate the conversation, right? So now that's his brand, right? So he gets to own his own brand.
Yes.
And that all came from meeting at Buzz Brews down at Deep Ellum and just hitting it off, right? And staying in contact with each other. And that is such a beautiful day when you can help somebody grow their business. Now he gets to craft it around his crazy daddy schedule with new baby. And I just love it.
Oh,
so
that's a great
give me a big old networking warm fuzzy.
Steven's such a great guy too. So I'm so happy for him.
So I just consider that my grand slam.
Oh, knock it out of the park, Miss Sheryl.
That's right. Okay, Rob, yours.
Well, mine kind of is appropriate today with our episode about personal branding because we had a fun thing in our office this week called Christmas in July.
Yes.
And again, that's part of the Purple Cow branding concept, right? What we're trying to do is build our community by having fun and having people a part of that. And so we had a networking event which you attended, and it's just a lot of fun. We had close to 50 people there, and that night, Sheryl, there was like 4 networking events. So I was so thankful for my community to help us and support us. But again, we had a lot of fun, and that's what Purple Cow stands for. And in that event, again, a chance to talk to the people I know, Dan, the banking guy, but we also had some new people.
Yeah.
Because we went out on social media and so on, promoted the event. So we had some new people. I made like 3 appointments that night about people that I'll be talking to next week. So again, personal branding is so important, and make it help support your marketing plan, and you'll see your community grow. So I think we popped it out of the ballpark.
Yes, you did, because out of my statistics for this week, so I know you like to keep statistics on all the networking groups, and I can't say who came from what group, but I met over the course of my 6 events this week, at least 15 new people that I didn't know, which gets harder and harder.
Yes.
Whenever you do. So you're like, yay, somebody I don't know. That's so cool. And out of that, already 6 one-on-ones scheduled.
Wow.
Right. So what it means is that when people are like, so, hey, when are you available, Sheryl? I mean, truly you start working 3 weeks out, and that's awesome. Mm-hmm. To be filling your calendar with productive money-making activity throughout the week through networking.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. And I love Christmas in July. Everybody, especially when it's like a gazillion degrees outside. I know, but you can have a snow cone maker next time.
Yes, we are. Absolutely.
That's right. So we're just going to I'm going to put my feet in it. So anyways.
And I love it too, because I got a chance to make my family tradition of shortbread cookies. So now I get to eat them twice a year instead of only once a year. So that was a big treat too.
Yeah. How the cookie crumbles, because it was the most crumbly, which is the great sign of a great shortbread, right? So I'm not saying that's, that was, I was like, I think it might be a little tough. Oh no. It was beautimous. So if you want to hire him, you need to put your order in now for Christmas shortbread cookies, because they were delicious. So we have one of my fave people ever to talk about anything. He could talk about anything and I'll listen. But in this particular case, it is the walking personal brand of Bryan Flanagan.
All right.
I know, that's your eyes when we come back. Let's face it, employees waste time on the company dime. Why? Life's complicated. We help keep the junk of life out of the workplace and in the hands of the experts. Empowered Advantage, empowering employees, giving businesses the advantage. Letter M as in magnificent, poweredadvantage.com. Oh my gosh. This is going to be like epic. Rob, are you ready for this?
The man himself.
That's right. Bryan Flanagan.
It is I. I is here.
Right. We're so excited. We've been thinking about this for a long time and trying to work a topic that works for you. Man, this is going to be great.
I need a topic that works for me.
That's right. One you can't take off, right?
Right.
So, yeah, that's right. So Bryan Flanagan, in case you don't know him, so make sure you get connected. We'll give his information at the end of this. But Flanagan Training, that's his company. He's got an amazing Zig Ziglar background, decades of training. Decades. So I'll let you tell how many.
Last century.
That's right. And this is one of my favorite points about you when we got to know each other was Louisiana State University.
It's a big deal.
That's right. Now, did I say it right? Is it Louisiana or Louisiana?
Just say it with pride. However you say it, just say it with pride.
Maybe I should say LSU.
Yeah.
Go Tigers. So we're so excited. And Rob, you picked the topic for this one.
Yeah, stand out. I think that's so important, especially for small business owners, right? There's so much clutter out there. How do we as small business owners get ourselves, seen in the marketplace? And so stand out. What better guy than the stand-up comedian right here, Mr. Bryan?
That's right. And about how the personal brand leads into helping you stand out. So talk a little bit about how you built your personal brand decades ago.
My personal brand, I hope, is upbeat and fun. I think I'm playful, but at the same time, my background has been with the IBM Corporation. Then I left one of the world's greatest organizations and joined the world's elitist organizations with the Zig Ziglar Corporation. So I always wanted to be in front of professional salespeople. Yeah. That's primarily who I train on presentation skills and sales skills. So I'm trying to look corporate type because that's my background. I started as a delivery boy with IBM, my second senior year at LSU, and that led to a 14-year career, and then Zig Ziglar. So hopefully my brand is laugh, learn, and grow.
Okay.
So to do all the above.
But the one thing that's so beautiful about you is that you say laugh, learn, and grow, but you are your brand, right? You don't just say it. You live it.
Yeah, and I think that you can pick that. Sometimes it's foisted on you. Sometimes you can pick it. But if you're in a network environment, you've got to decide which lane to choose. That's what we used to say. Which lane are you going to be in? And mine was always to be outgoing. And sometimes I can cross the line and be obnoxiously aggressive. But I want to approach people. And I want to let them know, especially if people are walking by themselves, they're looking for somebody. I want to come up and kind of welcome them in.
Awesome.
So I'm going to be the assertive one.
So with this focus now that we see all the time about you need to stand out, you need to develop your own personal brand. Mm-hmm. Have you noticed a difference or have you made any changes from day one until where you are today?
I don't think I have, because I learned a long time ago in the selling world, if you want to be invited back, be good. If you're consistent with being good, you've got a chance to have a great career in whatever endeavor. Okay. So one of the things that we need to do is be consistent, but deliver on promises. I think one of the biggest things is that we are selling ourselves. And one of the great quotes I learned many years ago, if you're going to sell yourself, make sure you believe in the product. Oh, and that's got to be consistent throughout the networking.
Right. Okay.
And just to clarify, we are the product, right? So we have to believe in ourselves if we're going to sell that through.
Yeah, very much so. So I believe that you should do that. Okay. And I think that comes across in how you support the other persons, what their objectives are. And you do sell yourself. Every networking event is a sales opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one of the things you need to do is ask your referral partner to be, how do you serve referral partners? How do you want your referral partners to serve you? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so if I'm asking those questions, I think I'm getting feedback, and I'm known as a guy that at the end of the meeting is, I may give 3 or 4 referrals out. I was just at lunch, and that's why I'm a little late. And a guy comes up, and I've never met him before. We're down in Dallas. And I said, hold on a second. I've got a client that's looking for a sales manager. So before the meeting was over, he had the email address and the number, and Alicia, hopefully they'll get together, and perhaps there's something to that. So I think that you have to be good and you have to be consistent, but you also have to perform.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you think there's an overplay of the words? You need to stand out in the crowd, all this personal branding. So,
Yes. Be careful. Be very, very careful. There's a difference between message and gimmick.
Okay.
And I can see your gimmick, but there's no substance there.
Right.
So if I'm going to sacrifice one for the other, I would rather have substance, the message, versus a flamboyant gimmick.
Totally agree with that.
Yeah.
So do you have an example of somebody who didn't know what their personal brand is, could be. Like they're just so a lost ball in tall weeds when it comes to this. Are there steps, like any tips that you can give somebody to help them identify what their personal brand should be?
First step is it's kind of subtle. What do you get compliments on?
Oh, that's great.
What are your friends, what are your businesses give you compliments on that you may be blindsided to?
Right.
And if you see that and you can work that in, I use a lot of humor. I try to use a lot of humor. I attempt humor. And one of the guys I met, and this is going to be a non-political deal here, politically correct. So he said, look, I'm just starting to sell men's clothing. And I don't know how to network. I was in engineering before, et cetera. I said, here's how you do it. You stand in front of the Chamber of Commerce and you say, my name is Ralph Watts. I'm in men's clothing. I used to be in women's clothing until they caught me. Now, he can't use that, but he can mold something around that. But find out, I'm sorry, can we cut that?
Yes.
Find out what other people give you compliments on, and then weave something into that.
Yeah.
I think that's really superb, actually. And I have to go back and think, did I receive compliments on something that maybe it could help? Because that is I think one of the difficulties when you're getting started networking, you're so overwhelmed and it feels like you almost over-adjust too much.
Yes,
You know what
you're
I
trying
mean?
to be somebody you aren't.
Yeah, so how do you then, so they develop their personal brand, but maybe they're still not hitting the mark. How do you identify then how they're not hitting the mark?
And you guys know this because you're a master networker. You know you want to give and you want to help. And if somebody would come up to you and say, how was my 30-second pitch? How was my message today? I had a 15-minute spotlight. Give me feedback. You would give them adequate feedback.
Yeah.
You would give them objective feedback and you would encourage them.
Right.
That's the other way to do it. I think this is my brand. Let me get some feedback on it. I have a sounding board.
Got it. And be open to that feedback. But yes, ask for constructive, not destructive.
Yeah.
That's
and the other thing is I think you want to be known as a listener. After you end a conversation, short conversation at a networking event, you leave, you meet somebody else. The question is, do I know more about him, but does he know more about me?
Yeah.
And if I walk away and I know more about Rob, I know you're from Canada. I know you have a probation officer. I got him. If I know more about you when I leave than you do about me, it's been a good interaction for me.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. And also, I have a plan. I've got 3 or 4 things I can pull out of the quiver to say, here's my 15-second, here's my 1 minute, and it may vary. Some people use the same patter every time, the same commercial every time, and that could be good, but I think different groups need to hear different things.
Yeah.
But when I'm interviewing you, I use something called POGO, very simple process. I ask questions about the person, the organization, their goals, why are they there, and then what are the obstacles to reach those goals. And I do that. We did that last night with several people that we
Doesn't
had
that come straight out of your book, So You're New to Sales?
It does come straight out of my book. You read it? You're the one. Thank you.
I read it.
Yeah, Mom bought a copy of you. Yeah, there you go. Yes, but certainly it does. Yeah. So you have a formula to go out there and get a profile of the person, and then it makes it easy for you to connect or introduce him to Debbie or introduce him to Jeff because you now have connections.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, and dang, I could sit here forever and just hear you talk about pogos. But we have to wrap. And before we do, I want a little known, keep it G, okay, a little known fact about yourself that nobody else would know. I want to break it right here on Network Today.
Some people know this, but for one season, I showered with the greatest basketball player in the history of college basketball. I didn't play a lot, but I was on the same team with the best offensive player in the world, which is Pete Maravich.
Pistol Pete.
Pistol Pete,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
That's I don't know if it's a little known fact, but it crushed my ego for about 3 years.
That's great.
I love watching him play. He was phenomenal.
Yeah, and I was watching. Go get a Pete. Yeah, I watched him a lot.
That's awesome. What a great little tidbit about your life. So this is Bryan Flanagan, and it's Bryan.
Correct.
Right. So look him up on LinkedIn. And Flanagan, straight up Irish last name.
Flanagan.
That's right.
There's only a couple of us left.
There are. So you want to connect with Bryan Flanagan. Make sure you see him on LinkedIn, get connected, and buy his book.
Absolutely. And also, I invite you to come down to Rob's library where we have Bryan's book. You can see in the background, So You're New to Sales, and get to check it out.
All right. So we'll see you later.
small business is still a business. At Purple Cow Branding, we want to help you execute your greatest visions for your company. Purple Cow works for small businesses that don't have big budgets to spend on their marketing efforts. Inquire now at purplecowbranding.com to be the biggest little guy around. Purple Cow Branding, much more than digital marketing.
So, Bryan, he just sets the world on fire. Man, he makes my heart happy.
He is so funny. He is so funny. And again, I just love to hear him speak. I've probably seen 5 or 6 engagements where he's been the main speaker, and he's phenomenal.
Yep. He is. And I would really like to do something special with him because he's just so, he's an amazing man because I was talking to him the other night. He's traveling like crazy. He's just that busy. And at this juncture in life, I would expect him to say, hey, come see me. I'm not going to go see you. But no, he's such a giver and he's just so darn good at what he does. So I'd love to do something special again with him.
Well, I've talked to him. I want to bring him into the studio and do a couple of video clips for him because he's such a go-giver.
Yeah.
And, his career, I've got 3 of his books in my library.
Yeah.
And the thing about the special about Bryan, Sheryl, is he hung out with Zig Ziglar for over 25 years.
Man. But he does like his personal brand. And this is why it was just such a perfect alignment with this particular episode to bring him in and be the guest, because his personal brand, he doesn't stray from it. Mm-hmm. He's got his deal. And his deal is his deal. And that's sales. And we were talking just last night about what happens when somebody comes to him and says, hey, would you speak on this? And he's like, I got referral people, right? Mm-hmm. I stay in my lane. He does. And it's so easy to get pulled into different, to start losing track of who you are.
Well, I think that's really appropriate for this time of this age now, because it's going back to before we had to be a generalist. Now today we got to be more specific. We got to hone into what our niche is, what we're an expert at. And I think that, again, that goes back to Bryan, where it's just sales.
Yeah.
And one of the best.
Yeah. So let's have some action items here that people can say, okay, I can't define my personal brand. How do I define my personal brand? What would you say to somebody who said, I just can't define it? I need some help.
Well, I think what I would do personally, if you're that person, is I would get a couple of friends in and over a cup of coffee, a glass of wine, is ask those questions. Who am I? How do you perceive me to be?
That's so funny. We didn't even practice this because I was going to say, who would you say that people say you are? Don't give me that look.
Well, I get.
If you don't like it, then
it's the the movie Back to the Future.
The flux capacitor. Well, the thing is that you own it, right? And there's nobody like you. You're an individual, and you own it, and that's what makes you you. And you're not apologetic about it,
right?
And you shouldn't be.
But and that's true. But going back to your question again, is I think it's so important that if you can't answer that, you've got to address it.
Yeah.
And then go outside, get a couple of your closest friends, talk about it.
And I really had to, coming out of 30 years of radio, right? So it was always about branding. It was always about the message matching the brand and the product and the service or whatever. I really had to work at it. But there was a gal from those radio days when I was at KVIL, Sheryl Holmes. And as soon as I got in there, so there's 2 Sheryls now, and all you had was a phone system, right? So if they get to the wrong Sheryl, then she might get the deal, and I don't get the deal. But this was her brand. And this kind of was one of those pivotal moments in my life, now that I look back on it, that really helped me begin to think harder about my brand that I'm putting out there. And so she would answer the phone. She would say, hey, this is Sheryl Holmes, as in Sherlock, right? And so I'm like,
very good.
Man, I don't have one of those. But then I marry Mr. Powers. And I'm like, bam, I got it. So that's where the powers as an Austin came in.
Okay.
And then weaving that into the whole empowered advantage where we empower employees, giving businesses the advantage. And so then all of a sudden the brand, and it's still not perfect, right? But now people, because you repeat it enough, just like advertising, right? Isn't that what we said at the beginning? That's what personal branding is. It's advertising. Now people know that Sheryl helps employee teams.
Right.
And you need to call her, right? They don't have to know everything that I do. Right. They don't have to know everything you do. But when they think about, hey, there's a branding issue, I call the Purple Cow branding guy.
And that, talking about an action item, I think something we should talk about too is how people need to communicate their message. They need to develop that so they fully understand so that when they're talking to people, whether it's just a one-on-one, whether it's in front of a networking group, they've got to have their own message because that's part of the brand. Yeah. It's not always just blue glasses, silly clothes or whatever. You've got to have a message of value.
Yeah. Yeah. Or the horn. Beep, beep. The horn. And so back to an actionable item, make sure you ask people, hey, so what do you see as my personal brand?
That's a great question. Right. I like that.
And Ron Kennedy, his personal brand is he is the connector. In a group, he will drag everybody and make them, connected. So so everybody knows that if you want to get connected with somebody, you want to talk to Ron Kennedy. So just keep that in mind because I think that's really important. Then also we touched on the alignment, making sure that the brand aligns, like with the Dan Nye, the banking guy.
Right.
He dresses like a banker.
Yes.
So don't be, a professional insurance person. I'm just making that up, but professional insurance person, and you wear shorts, right? You're board shorts to a meeting because then it's going to be like, well, that doesn't correlate to what I believe is a professional insurance person, right? Exactly. You don't have to be stodgy.
Right.
But it shouldn't look like such a disconnect that it's like, I'm not believing it.
It's still got to be business casual.
Yeah. So, and with that, we should probably have a whole segment on how to build out your online brand too, right? So the things that we say. So I know we'll get to that at some juncture, but the personal branding really goes deep and it's such an important thing. At the end of the day, I do business with Rob Inc.
Yeah.
Not necessarily even Purple Cow branding. I do business with Rob Inc. You do business with Sheryl Inc.
Yeah.
Right. I have people who say, "Hey, so what do you do?" I'm not even familiar with it, but because I know you, then I know there's some credibility to it. Right. There's some credence. Absolutely. So at least you get to be in the conversation. So that's what we're working on. Any other actionable items before we?
No, I think we're good there. I think we're good. I think we did more than 3.
Okay, we did several, but own the brand, just make it your own. And we want to hear from you. So we want to hear any comments that you have, any suggestions for topics. Go to the website for sure, networktodaydfw.com. You'll see it down here. You want to subscribe. Make sure you put your email address in there because we want to be able to communicate with you.
And next week's topic, another good one.
What?
Well, I'm not going to tell the audience here, but I'm going to make them think about how you need to. It's part about your branding.
You're trying to give it away without giving it away, right?
Yeah. It's part about your branding. You need to focus on it. You need to make it super. And I always talk to people about this branding part. Is I say you got to develop your Super Bowl commercial. So stay tuned for next week, and we'll tell you how to do that.
All right. We will indeed. So Network Today, this is where we take you from meeting people to
making money.
All right. And you know what? Cheers to all the personal branders out there. Can't wait to see you.
Have a great week.
This has been a Purple Cow production.